Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Podcast. We're here with Ray. This is going to be very interesting. This is one of the godfather brands in the industry of longevity. It's Life Extension. Life Extension has been around as long as I have. It's been around for over 40 years and has been a trendsetter and a thought leader and a market leader in this space of VMS for decades. And now the rest of the world is catching up and understanding that the work they've been doing for so long was on point and the market is exploding. And so you could say you're in the right place at the right time, except you made it happen over the course of 40 plus years. So welcome, Ray. Great to meet
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to be here on this amazing podcast and talk about the Life Extension brand. Yeah, I can tell you a little bit how Life Extension got started way back in 1980. So there's two founders of the organization, Bill Falloon and Saul Kent. And quite interesting, Bill Falloon was actually a classically trained mortician. And so he actually worked and saw people come across his table, so to speak, that were dying of premature aging, and he did not want to be one of those people. And Saul Kent actually was a medical writer for some scientific journals back then. Of course, back in the 1980s, there was no internet. These scientific journals were pretty expensive. If one wanted to look through medical breakthroughs, they weren't really readily available to the general public. And that was really our mission. Was both Saul Kent and Bill Falloon, a lot of interest in longevity and anti-aging way back when. Some people may remember Dirk and Sandy's book, which kind of started the whole longevity. So they decided to actually start a newsletter. And we actually started out as a black and white newsletter out of Bill Falloon's home in Hollywood, where we basically published every month findings from major medical journals that talked about nutrients such as CoQ10 and melatonin and DHEA, and how these nutrients helped improve people's health. We published this newsletter, for example, we were the first to introduce CoQ10 to the American public back in 1983 via this newsletter. And people started asking us, well, where can we get DHEA? Where can we get CoQ10? Where can I get SAMe? And at that point, again, there was, vitamins and supplements were very much in their infancy. There wasn't a vitamin shop on every single corner, or you couldn't go to an Amazon, right? So we actually started in 1983, I believe. We launched 12 SKUs. A lot of them, multi-nutrient formulas, but of course there was like our CoQ10. And ever since then, over the past 40 years, we've continued to report on the latest medical and nutritional breakthroughs. Even today, now that people have access right to those clinical studies via the internet, who can read through thousands of studies that are published every single month, our mission now is to continue to educate consumers on the latest breakthroughs in nutrition. Basically have a staff of researchers that pour through all of the clinical studies and kind of condense them and report, and we put them in, they're now in our, what used to be a newsletter is now a full color 112-page magazine.
It's fascinating to me that you were able to thread the needle and build the brand with a black and white newsletter. How did you build that word of mouth marketing? How did that play out in the 80s? How did you develop that following?
Yeah, so it definitely was a lot of word of mouth. When we first started off, we had a handful, a couple thousand. As we continued to grow, Bill did get a couple of appearances. Like I know he appeared on Hard Copy, a couple of other shows he brings up when he reminisces about the past in terms of how we grow. Obviously, the way we do things today is so much different. There was no social media, there was no internet back then. For example, we would have members that would also own their own health food stores. And I know very early on, people wanted to also sell our product in their stores. And so we started to expand out upon request, where we would, let people resell our products. And again, we mostly grew through the individual mom and pop health food stores. Is really getting different about our products is that we believe in education, and a lot of times we are first to market with products. So it's not only kind of launching a product, but it's also about educating consumers upon the ingredient, the need, the scientific studies behind the product, so the benefits. So kind of really, a lot of times we would help create the market for a new ingredient. About our company is driven by science. So everything from formulations of products to ingredients. We go through very rigid quality control procedures. All of the marketing that we put out is actually reviewed by our scientific team. All the claims we make is all backed by the science.
If you want to be around for 50 years or more, you need to have a different approach. And I
Yeah.
mean, so it sounds like a lot of the brands that have followed in your footsteps, whether they realize it or not, how does a brand that's over 40 years old in this rapidly evolving space, how do you keep innovating?
We, over the years, have been definitely other brands, and now there's, I think, over 7,000 brands on Amazon. I mean, we, again, are not going to change who we are to adapt to a market. We're a lot of vitamin companies are driven by marketing, and I say we're actually driven by the science. So if there's an ingredient that comes out that becomes like a very hot ingredient, if there's not science behind that ingredient, we're not going to come out with that product. And I think that's where a lot of the brand trust and credibility comes into, is because, for example, we constantly were looking and reviewing, again, the literature. We're working with a lot of the major suppliers and ingredient suppliers. Come to us first because we are a leader in the market. We have a whole scientific affairs team and researchers that review the studies. We actually have also an in-house clinical study department where we sometimes run our own in-house clinical studies to verify data that we're given to see if we can't replicate results. And at the end of the day, we want to come out with a product that works for the consumer. And I think that's why we have been a trusted brand and remain a market leaders, because again, our products are based in science, not listening to a lot of the noise that kind of happens or the trends that come up. Look, we're always looking at the trends, but we also validate those to make sure if it's something and want to take a look at something that we may want to launch. We always ensure that the science is there, that the product is efficacious.
Now it's 2025, you're going into retail. We're very
Yes.
excited to be working together with our Sprouts launch. I think that's a match made in heaven for everyone, especially the consumer. That might be the longest omni-channel selling cycle that what you expect it to be like going into retail, brick and mortar now nationally in retail grocery. What do you expect it to be like from day one?
Well, again, as you said, I think we've built a very strong brand through the other channels, direct to consumer. Like when we launched on Amazon, for example, we already had a very kind of strong following and brand presence. And the same thing, we're kind of going into these markets. We're not a new company by any means, and we wouldn't make this a jump into retail if we didn't think that we were ready. And it's also really key to find the correct retail partners. So I feel like Sprouts and the Life Extension Direct to Consumer have, again, a lot in common, right? You have people that are very health conscious, people that are very educated about health and wellness. We're really very picky about making sure that we find the right partner, that we know that our products aren't going to just sit there on the shelf, that they will have the education and the support from the retail partner as well as from the brand. That even if we are in retail, we're not selling direct to consumer, we still have a way of educating consumers about the right products that they should take.
I'm impressed. I think the company feels very modern today, right? So I think it's a great inspiration and a great example for other companies to follow, which is innovation can be sustainable and across generations, and innovation can be long lasting, right? So I think it's exciting that you're creating products that are new and that are disruptive, but they're built to last and they're built to solve a real problem and a real need.
Absolutely, yep.
And I think the customer is rewarding you for it year after year. So we're really excited to be launching together. We're really excited to see the brand morph into omni-channel and to see those brick and mortar consumers be able to discover it impulsively in a new way. So I'm excited to see it. I'm going to be in the stores and I'll buy some myself. So
Awesome.
I'll be a customer. So
Sounds wonderful.
great. Well, thank you
Appreciate
for joining. We'll see everybody soon.
it. Okay. Thank you very much.